most people don't realize, but as a kid, you encounter things in life and you just don't know any better. Growing up on a reservation, I knew nothing other than the life that I lived. The extreme poverty, the crime, all of that stuff was normal. It wasn't until I became a grown man that I realized that the things that I saw and the things that I experienced on the reservation were so abnormal that it was mind boggling. I'll give you an example. One night, my girlfriend and I go out into the woods to have a makeout session. Imagine a scene. It's a full moon. It's clear outside, no fog, no nothing. We're laying down on the ground, making out, when I hear this strange humming sound. Looking back on it as an adult, it's the exact same sound that people associate with UFOs. Nonetheless, we hear this strange metallic humming sound. Then there's these flashing white lights in the sky, but not like stars off in the distance, almost as if someone is taking photographs of us from the sky. It completely ruins the moment, spoils everything for the two of us. So now we start the process of walking back home. Mind you, when we walked into the woods, everything was peaceful, quiet, no problems. But walking back, it began to have this eerie feeling. Now, naturally, if you've ever been in the woods before, you know you hit these cold spots and these warm spots, but this was a warm summer's night, and we started walking through these ice cold spots in the woods. And then it got to the point to where it seemed like it felt like those cold spots were actually following us. I distinctly remember her looking at me with this look of fear in her eyes. Me wanting to comfort her, but not knowing exactly what to do in this situation. I didn't want us to run because it was dark. We could fall and hurt ourselves. But I didn't want to stay, and I didn't want to move at the pace that we were currently moving. That's when we hear this roaring sound coming from behind us in the distance. Almost as if something prehistoric had been brought back to life and just dropped on earth right there behind us. Your natural instinct in a situation like that is to run. And so that's what we did. We ran through the woods as fast as we could, headed home. Now, as we're running along, I'm not absolutely sure if she saw this first or if it was me, but I started to notice these little glowing green eyes on the right and the left of us. And by green, I'm not talking about dollar bill money green. I'm talking about neon glowing sets of green eyes. And they are now running along the right hand and left hand side of us as we move down this trail. And that's when it happened. Another one of those flashes of bright lights. And the next thing I knew, I was strapped down to a metal table, unable to move. The only thing I could do was look left and right with my eyeballs. Imagine being in a full panic, laying on your back. You can't move no matter what you do. Only thing you can do is look around, and I'm looking to my right, and I see her laying next to me, staring at me, with tears rolling out of her eyes. Now, I can't tell you how long we laid on these tables, but what I can tell you for sure is the thing that walked into that room and stood over me looked exactly like what you described as a dog man. Jet black fur, giant yellow eyeballs, black pupils, and these ears that was abnormally long that set up on top of his head that seemed almost as if it was a part of some type of mask. The next thing I knew, I was experiencing this pain in my knee right below my kneecap, an excruciating pain like something was being driven into my body. As that pain kicked in, it was almost as if it didn't want me to see what it was doing because now my eyeballs are locked, looking straight forward at this metallic ceiling, and it starts to slowly morph and change into the nighttime sky. I can see the moon, I can see the stars, and everything around me begins to morph. First I see the sky, then I start to see trees, then I start to see brush. Then the next thing I know, I'm laying on the ground right next to her where we were. And she's there as well. The both of us stand up looking at each other, and I begin the process of asking her if she just experienced what I did, but she cannot talk. All she does is break down into tears. Under the circumstances, you would think that the first thing we wanted to do was to run back home. But honestly, we both were too afraid to run. We didn't know what was real, we didn't know what was fake. All we knew in that moment was that we had each other. So we sat right there on the ground, huddled up, holding on to each other for the rest of the night. And we didn't return back home until the sun was up in the air. Over the next couple of months, she and I grew further and further apart as she didn't want to discuss what we experienced. Then her family moved off the reservation.